What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the show. I'm super excited to introduce my next guest to you because she is a fearless and adventurous spirit. She spent the last 7 years in an agency environment where she worked on global marketing campaigns for brands like Samsung, Audi, and T-Mobile. But she decided to transform her life in pursuit of her dreams of world travel. And much like myself, she's actually currently living life as a digital nomad while offering freelance marketing and virtual assistant services to her clients at her website, symphonyva.com. Her story has been featured in publications like A Girl in Progress, Excel Magazine, and Forbes, and now on the Rising Entrepreneurs podcast. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Stephanie Conway.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate you making some time for us today. I know we're on opposite ends of the world right now, so it's actually nighttime for you and it's the morning for me. So I'm glad we were able to connect, though. This is awesome. I appreciate you for doing this.
Yeah, no, me too.
So I was actually doing some research before the interview on you a little bit, and I was reading through your article on Forbes. I wanted to mention a quote that you had in there because I really think, it's powerful. You said, when you let go of social boundaries, there's more room for you to be who you're meant to be. Can you elaborate a little bit on that for us?
Oh my gosh. I don't want to get too deep on that one, but I'll try and keep it like broad strokes. Absolutely. I feel like, you grow up and you're told who you're supposed to be. So like, you go to high school and they say, okay, you've got to go to college and then get a degree and then get a job. And then once you do those things, then you're like, you're fitting into a social ladder and you're climbing up and you're doing things like, you get to a certain age where people expect that you get married and you have kids and there's all these things, and it's an expectation of life. Throughout whatever age you are, there's always a thing going on where they're like, okay, are you doing this next? Are you doing this next? And it's like, there's so many different forms of this, but I just felt like for most of my life, I was doing things because it was what I thought I should be doing, not necessarily because I wanted to do it, right? So like, I mean, obviously you have to go to school, but like, like I remember I was told what jobs I should do to get a specific income. And I was told like where I should live or how I should behave or things like that. And obviously that's how, it's how society functions, right? It's because people follow a specific guideline of their life. But it's really important to be able to take a step back and say, am I doing this for me or am I doing this because people want that from me? And we were talking earlier about how both of us lived in LA. And when I was living in LA, I feel like the reason why I spent 9 years there was because I told myself, you need to stay here. Like, if you go home, you're a failure, right? And that was another expectation I'd put on myself, but I wasn't particularly enjoying myself towards the end of being there. So it really I guess, starting my own business and quitting and going against what people expected of me and really shocking people around me, because that's what it was really when I did this. It really it gave me the space to go, who am I and what do I really want out of life?
I love that. And that's a really powerful question that, a lot of people, I think they kind of ask that question sort of like on a surface level, but they never really look internally to really truly ask that question, like, who am I and what is it that I really want to do? What is it that fulfills me? Yeah, because you're absolutely right. I mean, your family mostly usually is what puts these expectations on you. And then clearly the friends that you make as you grow up, they're used to you being a certain way, right? Conforming to this reality. Yeah. And as soon as you start to change, it's like, what are you doing? Like, what's the matter? Something must be wrong. Are you on drugs? Like, Yeah. So I love that. That's and that's the reason why I wanted to bring that up, because I think it is very powerful that people understand, the traditional path, that society tells us is the right way, is not the only way, right? It's not to say that it's the wrong way. It's just not the only way. And I love that you've been able to kind of break out of that and sort of really start to, spread your wings and become who you truly are. So that's really cool.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, just to expand on that, I feel like when, well, I was just going to say, basically, it's one of those feelings where it's like you almost get like a light bulb comes on, and it feels like, okay, now you almost get permission to live the life that you were supposed to live, which is great. That's all I was going to say.
Yeah, no, you're right. And what's amazing is that permission comes from inside,
Yeah.
that epiphany is like you giving yourself that permission. And I'm, again, everybody listening, like if you're struggling or you feel like, life just isn't working for you, the answers are within. They really are. And I know that that's kind of like an airy fairy thing, but the truth is, if you start asking yourself those serious questions about who am I, what fulfills me, what do I want to do, revelations will happen, and before you know it, life is going to change for the better. So I think that's really cool. And that kind of brings us into the question of how did you decide that entrepreneurship, was for you, and then the path that you ended up taking, like why'd you go down that route?
That's a really good question. I think social media affects everyone, right? We all look on and we see the best versions of everyone's lives when we scroll through your feed, right? Because nobody's posting a photo of, oh, it's laundry day and I don't have any other clothes to wear, or like I have to unclog this toilet today. Like it's just not, that's not how it is. But I got to the point where I had been working in PR and marketing for so long, and I had been helping facilitate these influencers live their best lives, and they were traveling to different islands, and I was just sat in a fluorescent office helping them. And I remember thinking, like, why is it happening with them, but like why can it not happen for me too? And but there's also a point where I'd always had this feeling of like, sometimes I'd worked for certain brands and I hadn't necessarily agreed with the things that they did,
Mm-hmm.
but I still had to do a good job. And I remember there was a point in my life where I went, I think it's called a quarter life crisis, but I think I had a quarter life crisis. And I was like, for me as a person, what bothers me is I can't sleep well at night if I think that if I'm not contributing to the greater good. No, I'm not. I'm not trying to be a martyr. I'm not trying to be like a savior or anything, but I just think if you take a step back and you analyze the situation and you go, if I died tomorrow, would my existence on this earth have been slightly positive or more slightly negative? And I just felt like, I think I'm kind of contributing to the negative side of things, and it just didn't really sit well with me. So I decided I wanted to curate my life where I worked for brands that I believed in, and I helped businesses, and I helped the things that I think are important. So entrepreneurship really gave me the ability to be able to do that, to be able to choose my own clients, and to be able to pick how I was going to work or where I was going to work, and to have the freedom to choose whether or not I was going to be successful. Because I think depending on your work ethic and all of these things that all work out, it's like, it's up to me to make that happen, not anybody else. And it's not up to me showing up to work to help other people succeed.
Yeah,
That's
no, for sure. I mean, yeah, that's a really good point. And, I love what you said about just not feeling congruent with like the clients that you're working for, like not necessarily believing in what they're doing, right? Yet you have this job that you have to fulfill, and you got to work on it whether you like it or not if you want to keep your job, type of thing. And it's interesting I was watching a Netflix documentary last night, actually. It's a new one called The Great Hack. Have you seen that?
I don't think I have now.
So it's pretty new. I don't know if when you're listening to this, whoever's listening right now, it may not be new anymore, but it just came out, and basically they're talking about social media and how it really kind of how there was PR companies that used social media for the different political campaigns, like for Trump's campaign, for Obama's campaign, and also for the Brexit campaign. and how they were literally able to like manipulate the population to vote the way that they wanted them to vote. And
Right.
there was a couple of people that were on the team that ended up becoming whistleblowers and sort of like talking about, you know, that they were doing these things that they kind of knew didn't feel right. And then after, you know, the fallout, it was like, oh my God, like what have I created, right? What have I done?
Yeah.
And now they made this documentary to kind of like expose, sort of the dangers of big data, right? And what does happen as we use social media and how we get targeted for things and all this, that, and the other. But it's just a really interesting documentary, so you might like it. But it plays a parallel with what you just said about how you really have to feel good about that work that you're doing,
Yeah.
because if not, like you say, what kind of legacy are you leaving? What is your life about? Or was it positive or was it negative? And I think that's a really important question to ask.
Yeah. And this is another thing. I was having a conversation with somebody the other night, and he was saying, "Oh, I was living in." I think it was like he was saying, "Oh, I was living in Kenya," and I was like, "Oh, were you doing something humanitarian?" And he was like, "No, I was doing something the complete opposite. I work in oil and gas." But like, and like, obviously that was like he was joking, but he knew that he wasn't. But it didn't bother him because he makes a decent amount of money, and it takes all kinds, right? It takes all kinds of people. But for me personally, that's not how I want to live my life. I'm not, and I don't judge people who do, but it's just like we all make a choice in life how we want to contribute, and that's something that I guess is my kind of moral ground, but
Yeah.
not everyone.
I love that for sure. It really is what allows you as a person to put your head on the pillow at night, right?
Yeah,
And again, without that judgment, I mean, people do what you want to do by all means. If you want to make a shit ton of money and like that's what you want to do, great, go do it. No big deal. Whatever makes you sleep at night, that's the right thing for you. So,
exactly.
at the end of the day, I mean, that's really all that matters as long as you feel good about yourself. Hopefully, you're not hurting anybody in the process, but
Yeah.
yeah. Well, cool. Well, that's really a good transition, actually, kind of into the next topic that I want to talk to you about, which is like this digital landscape and social media and how it's really changing the way that we do business and the way that we communicate with each other. What are some of your thoughts? Just kind of, I mean, as you're building your business as a digital nomad, you
Yeah.
must love the ability to do that. So tell us a little bit about what you think about that.
I think people are a lot more clever as an audience now.
Hmm.
It's not so easy. You can't just put a pretty girl with your product and just hope that it sells. It's not the same anymore that it used to be, maybe like in the 80s or even not even that long ago. Like, people want authenticity, and people see right through like the fakeness, and that's the whole thing. That's why people have said things like that now it turns out that these nano influencers are way more effective at doing brand partnerships than, say, if you were going to go for like an A-list celebrity, because an A-list celebrity is expected to do a brand partnership. People go, oh yeah, she's just doing a brand deal right now, I'm not going to listen to this. But if it's somebody who has a smaller audience and they genuinely really care about this person and have this kind of bond with this nano influencer, they're going to actually listen to these products. So I think social media has done, there are some negative aspects to everything, but I think as a whole, I think it's really changed the landscape in that people are being respected a lot more
Mm.
in terms of branding, and I think that's a fantastic. I think that's a fantastic thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, that's a term I've never heard before, nano influencer. I mean, I get the concept behind it, but yeah, it makes a lot of sense, that people that are more authentic, that have their small following, like you say, they're not expected necessarily to just be pushing and promoting products. And more than likely, they didn't build their following by pushing and promoting products. So,
Exactly.
when they do, their following is going to listen. That makes total sense. What advice would you have for someone out there maybe that is trying to become a bit of an influencer? How they can bring some more of that authenticity into their content? I mean, obviously just being yourself, but I think there's an
Yeah.
element of fear there. You know, a lot of people have a fear of putting their true self out there. Like you said, I don't want to show that today is laundry day and I'm actually standing here in my boxers, right? Like,
Yeah.
but how do we bring that, you know, to reality?
I guess connecting with your, I know this is a little bit like floofy, but like connecting with your authentic self and go, what is my essence? Like, what do I have to offer? So say I am the best at eating spaghetti with like super fast, like whatever your niche is, like make that who you are and really embrace it. Like be unapologetically you, because there's something about people who are so in tune with themselves that people connect with. And I think yeah, fair enough, being authentic, but really knowing who you are and really not apologizing for it, making sure that you own that space, whatever niche that is. I think that's really important because people love it. People love to see. And you know, the thing is, yeah, you might worry about your vulnerability or your weird quirk, but that is what makes you who you are as a person. Like I'm a bit nuts, and I feel like that's what that's what makes me quite endearing as a person. But if you weren't nuts, then like you'd be boring, right? Like who wants to, nobody's interested in like an average like plastic person, like because we can't, the one thing that we all have in common is that we are human and we make mistakes and we're going to trip over every once in a while, or we're going to do things, and you've got to be able to laugh at those things, and you've got to be able to embrace your humanity in whatever way that is for you.
That's a really great insight. And, you know, it's one of those things like we're all a little bit nuts, you know, and if we can just embrace that, you know, that's how we can connect to each other and relate to each other. And it reminds me again of something that I saw on social media. Are you familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk?
Yeah, yeah,
I love Gary. So anyway, he posted on his Instagram, I believe, a couple days ago, you know, like if you talk crap about yourself, it leaves the haters nothing to say, right? And he brought up kind of that movie 8 Mile, where you know Eminem or whatever, he's going on stage and he's doing this rap battle with this guy, and he goes first, and usually who goes first in that situation, you know, is going to end up losing because he doesn't have much to say, and the second guy, you know, can pick apart everything he said.
yeah,
But Eminem comes out first and he's like, yeah, I know, you know, this, and this, and this, and I'm bad at this and I suck at this. And he basically put himself out there, and like the second guy had nothing to say, you know, and it was like,
yeah.
if you can laugh at yourself and your shortcomings, it's a really powerful thing. And it is a great way to really connect with an audience. So I think that's an awesome insight for sure.
I love that.
Well, cool. So, what are some things that you're excited about in terms of social media as you know as we're moving forward and things are changing?
I'm excited about. I'm really excited about Instagram stories because I just think that it's just changed the game completely. Um,
So, how are you using Instagram stories?
I'm basically just showing my entire life. I just use it as a vlog. I'm like, look what I'm doing now. Look what I'm doing now, and I like make little jokes, but like maybe nobody finds it funny, but um, but it's great because you know with an Instagram grid, it has to be perfect and really well curated. But it gives you the opportunity to really shine and not have to worry about it being more permanent. So you can just you can have like that there'll be the occasional thing where like it'll be a funny situation. Like I got in the wrong grab the other day, and then the driver didn't speak English, and then he was driving me to the wrong place, and then I had to jump out of, this was in Kuala Lumpur like 2 days ago. I had to jump out of the taxi in the middle of the road because he wasn't going to let me out. And I just documented it while it was happening.
I'm leaving now.
Like, guys, I'm out.
Oh, that's funny.
And just I think it's a really good way to peer behind the scenes of your clear veneer of an Instagram feed and really show that, like we just talked about, the whole authenticity thing. Give a behind the scenes look and let people nosy into your life, because I think that's how I've got some followers who they like reply to all my stuff, and I feel like they're kind of like friends now, and it's because of it's because I show so much of my life that they kind of feel like they connect with that, which I think is great.
Yeah, that is awesome. Yeah, I really enjoy Instagram stories too. And yeah, I don't know, I feel like sometimes I can lose too much time, like putting all the little things on there and the little junk and everything. But it is fun, that's for sure. And it is a great way to, like you say, just show that, the rawness like of life. Like we all, something happens to us all every day. So yeah, if you can share that, it does give people a way to connect with you. And those super fans, those are the ones really that you want to curate that, and
Yeah,
you like those, that's your tribe. I mean, that's your people, and they really look up to you. So you want to be able to build that, because you're helping people by being you.
definitely. Yeah.
So let's talk about the work-life balance, because you obviously are traveling the world. You're running your business from your computer. You're seeing all these amazing things. Like clearly, you're living the life that you want to live and that you've planned on living. But how do you manage it all? Like, how do you manage your business while you're doing all this traveling?
Oh, yeah. That I think meeting so many digital nomads, that is the number one question. And I think it takes a lot of discipline because there's so many things that can distract you. And especially traveling around Southeast Asia, you never know what's going to happen. Like the internet could cut out, or it could rain, or there could be an earthquake, which has happened a few times. Just things just happen that you're just not expecting. Your train just doesn't show up and you just don't get to go anywhere for that day. Or I think it's really important to have discipline, but also to communicate with the clients that you have and just let them know, okay, this is what's happening, and try to work to deadlines as much as you can. But it's just all about communication. For me personally, I found that I can't travel too often. It's not like I can't go and explore everywhere, because I can't physically focus my mind. I find that I'll stay in a base place, and then maybe I'll move for a little bit, and then I'll go back. So I just I like to travel, and don't get me wrong, I've been traveling, but I like to have a set amount of days that I've got working Wi-Fi and I'm working.
Yeah, I totally get that. And I think a big part of that is self-awareness. Like you're aware of, like you said, if you're out and about all the time, it's hard for you to focus your mind. So you have to be aware that that is the case, so that you can be, and then the discipline, something that I think is tough no matter what. But if you want to run your own business, that's just something you have to really have. You have to be disciplined to do the work. But yeah, I know traveling around and working from your computer, always looking for Wi-Fi, it can be tough. I've spent many a days in Starbucks, or, like some coffee shop somewhere, and just like praying that the Wi-Fi is good enough for me to do my work. And then the other thing you mentioned too, managing client expectations, right? So being communicative with the people that you're working with, it really goes a long way too. I mean, they're pretty lenient, when they understand what's actually happening. Like if you leave them in the dark, then of course, they're going to be pissed if something doesn't show up on time, or, if, like this, like you don't end up connecting. But like, if you can just communicate, hey, look, this is what's going on, and just kind of manage those expectations a little bit, you can manage a successful business from the road. And I think, that it's kind of, it is one of those, it's almost like the new dream, right? Of entrepreneurship, is to be this sort of free digital nomad type where, we're sitting on a beach, drinking cocktails, working from our computer.
Exactly.
But it's clearly not always like that, right? I mean, can you shed
Yeah.
some light kind of on, I mean, I know we just talked about the internet not working and stuff like that, but for those out there that may be like, oh, I want to become a digital nomad or whatever, like maybe a little bit of just insight on what's like the truth about it.
It's not easy. Nothing's easy. I mean, like, people just walked in and they're talking in the room right now. There you go.
Yeah, right.
I think I might move soon. But it's not easy because, first of all, my parents thought it was a get rich quick scheme, that I was trying my best to make something happen, and I was like, that's not the case at all. you have to be prepared to not make any money for a while, because you just don't know. There's a lot of, with a paycheck, there's a lot of safety, and you lose that safety net because it's all on you, but it's also all on whether or not somebody wants your services or whatever you have to provide. I think it's really important to have some savings set up. I think there's another aspect of this. It can be really lonely because you're working from your laptop. You don't have coworkers. You could be traveling on your own. I've been really, really lucky because I have put myself out there, and I'm quite a obnoxious person. So I'll be like, "Hi, who are you?" Like, and so like I have digital nomad friends, and I meet up with them like wherever I am, which is great. But I know that it can be a really lonely time. Like you have to force yourself to go out and be sociable, because you could be, in theory, at home on your laptop for your entire life, because there's no real clock out time. And also, something nobody told me, I feel guilty sometimes. Like, so I have to schedule time to work, because if I don't, I'll feel guilty if I do an activity, because I'll go, oh, I could be working right now. I could be working on that thing. And you can't switch your brain off. So there's a lot of pressure, but so the reality of it, there's a lot of pressure. It can be lonely. It could not be lucrative. You really have to work at it to make it happen. But I think it's worth it.
Yeah, totally worth it. And I love that you brought that stuff up. It really, it just gives it a full picture, and people can sort of see it's not all roses, right? It's not, and running a business never will be, no matter what kind of business you want to run. There's work involved. You have to be disciplined. You're going to feel guilty about stuff, like you said. I mean, to do one thing, you have to not do another, right? Yeah. So that's just a part of it. And it is lonely, in the beginning, because it's just you, and it's your ambition and your drive that's creating this thing, but at some point, I think building a team, or, like virtual assistant work, like what you do, I think building a team of people that can sort of drive that vision for you moving forward is kind of one of those things that will start to open up the fulfillment of being your own boss and running your business.
Absolutely. Do you mind if I just move somewhere? Is that okay?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no doubt.
I'll take you around. So
give us a tour.
I'm currently staying in Kuala Lumpur. I'll show you the towers, but they're too far away.
Is a place I definitely want to travel to. I've never been into Southeast Asia. I've heard amazing things. I see all the blogs and the Instagram of people that are out there. That's one place I definitely want to travel to.
Yeah, it's so you haven't made it out to Southeast Asia yet? No. You'll have to come visit.
Yeah, that's I think the next big trip for sure.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it's a really cool place.
Awesome. Well, this has been a lot of fun, Stephanie. I actually, I want to ask you kind of one more question, which is, based on your experience thus far, and I know that you're still kind of just getting started in your journey, and you've got a huge, thing and amazing path in front of you, but based on where you're at right now, like, what is some advice that you would give yourself maybe 5 years ago?
Listen to yourself. I think it's one of the biggest things that I would have given myself. I think I had been thinking about doing something like this for a long time. I think I got to the point where I was fantasizing about going to Bali every time I had a bad day. And I just think you have the answers. You said this earlier, actually, but you have the answers inside you of what you want for your life, and nobody else has those answers. You have them, and that's the most empowering thing, is that you just need to wake up to yourself. And that sounds really cheesy, but you just really need to listen to yourself and stop doubting yourself.
Yeah, no, it's not cheesy, and it is absolutely true, and it is the path to this enlightenment state that a lot of people are seeking in life, to really feel fulfilled. So I love that that's what you say, because you really do have to listen to yourself and ask yourself those hard questions sometimes. So again, Stephanie, this has been a blast. I really appreciate you coming on and spending some time with us and sharing your insight and wisdom. Where can everybody find you? What do you got going on in your life right now? Uh-oh, I think you dropped out. Stephanie. Oh, we may have lost her, guys. Well, I don't know if we can get you back. We'll get an answer to that question hopefully. But as you guys know, as I mentioned on her website, symphonyva.com, you can go check out Stephanie. She offers amazing virtual assistant services if you need help with anything in your business or getting started. And then also you can just communicate with her. I'm sure she'd be happy to talk to you more about her journey and how she is living this amazing life as a digital nomad. So, oh, I think she's back.
No, sorry.
No worries. I'm glad you're back. I was just saying, I wanted to ask you where everybody can find you and what what you've got going on in your life.
So as in my website or?
Yeah. I told them Symphony VA, but yeah, let them know like what kind of services they can expect, to get there.
So I provide virtual marketing assistance. So anything that you need, you basically can give me a call, tell me where you're at in terms of marketing for your business and where you'd like to be, and then we'll strategize a marketing strategy in terms of digital, PR outreach, anything to do with influencer partnerships or brand partnerships, anything like that. And we'll come up with a plan, and whether or not you want me to work to execute it or whether or not you want somebody else to, I can just help facilitate getting you to where you want to be in terms of growing your business.
Awesome. Well, there you have it, guys. If you need help growing and becoming, a rock star online or growing your business, definitely check Stephanie out. Symphonyva.com, right? Sweet. Well, thank you again, Stephanie, for joining us today. And it's been a blast. And hopefully, let's keep in touch.
Yes, would love to. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll see you on the next one.
Okay, thanks. Bye.